People used to treat me like I was nothing, a phantom flickering in their peripheral vision, dismissed before they even glanced my way. But that night, as raindrops danced on the asphalt and my sneakers tore across the soaked ground, I was the unknown force preparing for the only moment that mattered, the track competition. I was more than the color of my skin. I was hope, grit, and determination. Yet hope often stands up to the odds, and fate wasn't about to let me race without a fight. The serenity of my isolation shattered when a police patrol car rolled to a stop beside me. The doors flung open, and the world transformed into a theater of hostility. "What are you doing here?" they barked, eyes narrowed. In an instant, the air thickened with tension. They didn't see a runner preparing for glory, but a threat lurking in the shadows. What followed felt surreal. My body pinned to the soggy ground, the mix of disbelief and pain flooding my senses as they rained down blows. Alone, I limped home, dragging the weight of humiliation and fear. Yet beneath the swirling storm, a flicker of defiance ignited. Then came my father, Conrad Ford, a man shaped by military discipline yet absent for too long. When my mother reached out, I could almost sense the ripple of resolve surge through him. His journey began with stealth and determination, unraveling evidence like a tightly wound spool of thread while aiming for a reckoning that rippled far beyond his son. This fight wasn't just mine, it was ours. As I prepared to confront the world, I would transform my pain into armor and my scars into a testament, a declaration that I was done being invisible, ready to change the narrative. In the end, we would make it impossible for injustice to silence us again. "I'm just trying to practice," Jamal said, his breath visible in the chilly night air as he paced around the track. "Oh, really?" Officer Bennett sneered, leaning casually against the hood of his patrol car. "A kid like you out this late? What's your excuse?" Jamal felt the tight grip of anxiety. "I'm training for the state finals, sir. I can show you my registration." "Training, huh?" The officer stepped closer, his partner lingering behind, smirking. "What, you think you're going to run away from us?" "No, that's not—" Before he could finish, Officer Bennett grabbed his arm, yanking him towards the car. "You're not going anywhere. We know what you're really up to." Jamal's heart raced. "Please, I haven't done anything wrong." Reinforced. "You got a badge on your chest, boy?" Bennett shouted, throwing him to the ground. "Then you just keep your mouth shut. Stabilize. Stop." The pain shot through him, but the adrenaline masked the feel of the asphalt digging into his skin. The cold night air felt suffocating. What was happening? Why was no one stopping this? As he lay there, shivering in shock, Jamal's mind echoed with disbelief, tears pooling in his eyes. He limped away from the scene, a world once bright now tinted in shades of humiliation. When he finally stumbled home, his mother gasped, "Jamal, what happened?" They wouldn't listen," he murmured, voice cracking. "Condemned? Who wouldn't?" Her eyes filled with fear. "The police." His voice dropped to a whisper, heavy with shame. "They hurt me." She mother's face fell, that look of heartache seeping deep into his soul as he realized the true weight of being misjudged, misunderstood, a target cast in broad daylight. The rain-soaked pavement glistened under flickering streetlights, casting long shadows that followed a lone figure as he ran his laps. Kevin, a 16-year-old with a relentless spirit, focused on his breaths, silencing the weight of the world through each stride in preparation for the track competition. He was not just a black teen. He was a runner, a dreamer, and he had worked tirelessly for this moment. But the sudden chirp of a police vehicle pulled him from his rhythm, a familiar apprehension creeping in. The officers stepped out, their demeanor instantly shifting the atmosphere to one of tension. "What are you doing out here?" one barked, mistaking dedication for distrust. Kevin swallowed hard, trying to explain through stammered words, but their dismissive sneers sharpened his pulse. Then in an instant, it escalated. He felt a hand on his shoulder, a shove, and the world spun violently as he hit the cold ground. As painful blows rained down on him, the echo of their laughter pierced through his fear. They left him there, bleeding under the relentless rain, as he limped home, the humiliation mingling with his physical ache. The moment his mother saw him, the heart-stopping terror in her eyes, solidified the simmering frustration. Then there was his father's name, hanging in the air like an unanswered prayer. Say two worlds collided, the protective military man and the son he barely knew. It was a time to act. As Kevin lay in bed that night, the montage of his life flashed through his mind. The years of being overlooked, the endless apologies he'd given for existing. No more silence, no more bows of submission. The quiet resolve began to boil within him, igniting a fierce determination. The weight of silence pressed down on him as he stood before the mirror, his reflection flickering with doubts. But today felt different. Clarity infused his thoughts. He straightened his back, inhaling deeply. No more running scared, he whispered, determination intertwining with his breath. Lying back that day, he spotted Officer Miller leaning against his cruiser. The tension coiled in his gut, but he took a step forward. "You think just because you wear a badge, you can treat us like that?" His voice barely rose above the cars passing by, yet it held a quiet strength. Miller scoffed, crossing his arms. "What do you want, kid?" "Respect," he replied, each word steady like the rhythm of his training. The officer's dismissive smirk wavered, uncertainty creeping into his eyes. Taking his cue, he pressed on. "You don't know me. I'm more than your stereotype." The shift was subtle, but it ignited something within him. His heart raced, not from fear, but from the thrill of reclaiming his narrative. Small victories began to stitch together a tapestry of confidence. It felt empowering, like the first step of a long race where he steadied his pace. Returning home, he shared the confrontation with his mother. "What did he say?" she probed, worry etched in her brow. "He heard me," he replied with quiet assurance. "I'm not backing down anymore." In her eyes, he saw a glimmer of pride. This was just the start. Change was brewing, and as he prepared for the track ahead, the weight of fear began to lift. Confidence bubbled beneath, promising that the fight was not over. It was only beginning. Conrad stood in the back of the packed hearing room, a storm of emotions swirling within him, while his son, Malik, prepared to speak. The air crackled with anticipation. The tension was palpable. As Malik rose, his trembling hands belied the strength in his voice. He delivered his testimony, every word dripping with the weight of his experiences, fear, pain, and determination. "I am not a criminal," he said, his gaze piercing through the panel of officials who had belittled him. "I am a runner, a student, and a son, not your scapegoat." Each statement echoed, resonating through the room, shifting the atmosphere. The crowd, once restless and uncertain, began to lean in, their expressions morphing from skepticism to support. A thin veil of disbelief faded as they absorbed the truth. In stark contrast, Officer Kramer, the cop who had hurled racial slurs while beating Malik, sat rigidly at the front, his smug demeanor crumbling as Malik's words etched their truth. The whispers grew louder. "That's him! How dare he!" Embarrassment flushed Kramer's face, the bravado drained from his posture, dimming his previously commanding presence. Finishing his powerful declaration, Malik stood tall, exuding a silent triumph that radiated through the room. Conrad's heart swelled with pride. His son was transforming, embodying resilience instead of submission. The crowd erupted in supportive murmurs, while the board members exchanged panicked glances, their firm grip on authority wavering in the face of truth. The hearing concluded. The audience erupted into a hushed applause, no wild cheers, just a profound acknowledgement of justice. Filming phones captured the moment, spreading Malik's message wider, holding the police accountable. Across the room, Kramer's confident mask slipped entirely as he realized his facade had crumbled, shifting from predator to pariah. In that silent, electric moment, the boundaries of power shifted. Malik's vulnerability became his weapon. Conrad's absence transformed into fierce protection, and together, father and son began to rewrite their futures, crafting a narrative of empowerment in a world that had tried to silence them. As I sit here, the rain tapping softly against the window, I find myself reflecting on that day. The tension in the air, the unwarranted aggression, and the injury, both physical and emotional, that bruised not just my body, but my spirit. The memory of my father, driven by a fierce love, storming into the fray for justice, fills me with a strange mix of gratitude and sorrow. I've emerged from that darkness, scarred but stronger, navigating a world that often seems to challenge my very existence. What does it mean to stand up against injustice? To take a risk for the ones we love? The whispers of doubt still linger. Did he go too far? Or would I have done the same? These questions pulse within me, urging me to understand and share. Tane, have you ever faced a moment when everything was at stake? I invite you to share your experiences in the comments. Join the conversation about power, bias, and the pursuit of justice. Your voice matters.